Boredom, the forgotten edge of the blade, the silent architect of madness and greatness alike. Most people, well, most of them, they run from boredom, like rats scurrying from a sinking ship, seeking distraction, feeding their minds a diet of flashing screens and endless noise. But boredom is a gift, a doorway into the unknown. It's the echoing emptiness that whispers, no screams at you, to confront the void within. And it is in that void, that aching silence, where greatness is born. You see, when the mind is stripped of its distractions, when you no longer have the comfortable crutches of stimulation to lean on, you're forced to create, to fill that empty space with something more than just mindless consumption, more than the passive intake of meaningless stimuli. Boredom demands you build something, or it devours you. It's a crucible, burning away the frivolous thoughts, the fleeting impulses, until all that remains is the essence of your potential. And there, in the stillness, in the deafening silence, you are reborn, not as who you were, but as what you can become. But oh, how the weak scramble to fill that silence. They fear it because it forces them to confront their insignificance. But those who embrace it, they transcend it. Because in boredom, you either become nothing or you become everything. The choice is yours. Squirm in the discomfort of your own mind or dive headfirst into the abyss of possibility. Boredom isn't just an inconvenience, it's a weapon. And the few who wield it correctly turn it into power. Think about it. Every invention, every revolution, every spark of genius was born in the quiet moments, in the lulls of action. When everything around you is still, the only thing left moving is your mind. That's where greatness lives, not in the noise, but in the silence. The ones who are afraid of boredom, the ones who need constant entertainment, constant validation, they will never understand this. They can't. Their minds are too weak to withstand the pressure of solitude. But those who sit in the silence, who let it consume them, they emerge with something new, a vision, a plan, a force the world has never seen before. Boredom is not the enemy. It's the forge, the place where your mind sharpens its blade, where your ideas are tempered by isolation, and your ambition is strengthened by the weight of stillness. And those who rise from the depths of boredom are the ones who change the world, because boredom pushes you into the unknown. And it's in the unknown where real progress is made, where the walls of ordinary life crumble and the doors to possibility swing open. But to reach greatness, you have to embrace the discomfort of boredom. You have to sit with it. Let it twist inside you. Let it drive you mad, until that madness becomes the fuel that lights your path. Because boredom isn't the absence of action. It's the invitation to create something worthy of your time. While most flee to distractions, the brave ones, the rare ones, sit in the silence and begin to build. It's in those moments of unbearable stillness that the monuments of tomorrow are crafted. The next great idea, the next powerful movement, the next revolution, all born from the void. Because when there's nothing to distract you, nothing to pull your attention away, the only thing left is the infinite possibility of your own mind. And that, my dear, is the most dangerous place to be. The edge of boredom, staring into the unknown, where you either fall or you fly. Greatness doesn't come from constant action. It comes from the space between actions, the pauses, the quiet moments where you have to confront the depths of your own potential, or lack thereof. That's why boredom is so terrifying to most. It shows them the truth of what they are, or what they could never be. But to those who understand its power, boredom is the gift that keeps on giving. It's the silence before the storm, the tension before the breakthrough. It is the birthplace of everything extraordinary. Let boredom consume you. Let it stretch out before you like an endless desert. And instead of fleeing, walk through it. Because only when you walk into the heart of that emptiness do you find the gold buried deep within. Those who conquer boredom, they conquer the world. While the rest are drowning in distractions, the chosen few are building empires in the quiet. Boredom is the deep breath before the plunge, the quiet before the storm, the stillness that always precedes the explosion of creation. It's the seed buried in the dark soil, waiting for the right moment to break through. Most people fear it, run from it, because in that silence, they are forced to face the yawning void inside themselves. But those who understand the dance of life, they know that boredom is where the mind takes root, where the greatest ideas are born, waiting for the moment to unleash their fury. Before every revolution, before every great work of art, every masterpiece, there is a pause, a lull, a moment when the mind flirts with madness, trapped between the past and the future, yearning for something more. And that's when the spark ignites, because it's boredom that stirs the pot, that unsettles the soul, making it restless, making it hungry. You can't create from a place of contentment. Creation demands dissatisfaction, a deep, gnawing hunger to escape the mundanity of existence. And boredom, my friend, is the ultimate trigger. Boredom is a catalyst. It forces the mind to wander, to drift into the unknown, to explore the dark corners where the wildest thoughts reside. It strips away the distractions, the endless noise, until there's nothing left but raw potential. That's why those who understand the power of boredom don't run from it. They embrace it. They let it creep into their bones, let it rattle the cage of their minds until something new emerges. And what emerges is always dangerous because it's unfiltered, unrestrained, born from a place of desperation and need. Before any period of great creativity, there is an emptiness, a silence that threatens to consume. That's where the weak give up, where the fearful seek comfort. But the creators, they thrive in that space. They wait. They sit in the stillness, letting the boredom gnaw at them, pushing them to the brink of insanity, because they know that it's just the beginning. The deeper the boredom, the greater the explosion of creativity that follows. It's the pressure building, the storm gathering on the horizon, waiting for the moment to strike. The mind doesn't reach its full potential when it's constantly entertained, when it's spoon-fed distractions and noise. It reaches its peak when it's forced to sit in the silence, to fester in its own thoughts, to suffer through the boredom until something breaks. And when it breaks, when the mind shatters through the monotony, what emerges is something new, something wild, something that can't be tamed. Because creativity is born from discomfort, from frustration, from the need to escape the shackles of boredom. So the next time the emptiness starts to creep in, don't run. Don't flee into the arms of distraction like the rest of the world. Sit with it. Let it break you down. Let it burn away the superficial layers until you're left with nothing but your raw, unfiltered mind. because that's where the magic happens. In that space where nothing else exists, where the mind is forced to confront its own depths, its own potential. Boredom is the slow unraveling of the chains that society so carefully wrapped around your mind. It's the state where the programming begins to crack, where the scripts you've been handed start to crumble under the weight of your own thoughts. When boredom sinks in, the distractions of the world are stripped away, and for the first time, you're left with yourself. No noise to drown out the questions, no entertainment to numb the restless ache. In that silence, you begin to feel it, the shedding of the falsehoods you've been told to believe. Society loves to keep you occupied. It needs you to be busy, needs your attention fragmented, so you never have time to think, to question, to rebel. But boredom is the antidote. It's the moment where those carefully constructed walls begin to fall, where the constant bombardment of external expectations loses its grip. When you're bored, truly bored, the thoughts start to turn inward. You begin to realize that so much of what you've been chasing is not your own. The dreams, the ambitions, the fears, they were placed there, like programs running in the background of your mind, keeping you trapped in someone else's design. In boredom, the veil lifts. You start to see how you've been shaped, molded into something that serves the system but not yourself. You feel the disconnect between who you are and what you've been told to be. And it's in this stillness, this unsettling quiet, that you begin to shed it all. Boredom forces you to confront the lie that endless distraction is the path to happiness, the lie that productivity is measured by how well you fit into society's predetermined roles. Boredom is a revolt. It's the place where conformity starts to rot, where the mask you've been wearing begins to slip. In those quiet moments, you feel the itch, the desire to tear it all off and find what's real, what's yours. But that's exactly what society fears. That's why it keeps you hooked on trivial pursuits, why it floods your senses with shallow pleasures. Because boredom is dangerous. It's the gateway to liberation. When boredom takes hold, the programming starts to loosen its grip, and suddenly you begin to see the cracks in the system. You see how you've been controlled, how you've been made to chase shadows instead of substance. Waiting for society to bless your individuality is like asking the prison guard for the key to your cell. It's not going to happen. Society doesn't want you to be yourself. It wants you to be another cog in the machine, another face in the crowd, another mind broken into submission. The world isn't designed to celebrate uniqueness. It's built to crush it, to smooth out the rough edges, to silence the voices that dare to question the script. And most people, they willingly surrender, begging for the approval of a system that couldn't care less about who they really are. Waiting for permission to exist as yourself is the slowest form of death. It's handing over your power, begging for validation that will never come. Because society doesn't reward individuality. It punishes it. It mocks it, isolates it, destroys it. But here's the thing. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a stamp of approval to be who you are. You never did. The system is built to make you feel small, to make you believe that conformity is the only path to survival, to success. But that's the lie it sells, to keep you in line, to keep you quiet, to keep you obedient. The strongest souls are the ones who never asked for permission. The ones who walked into the world, not with a question, but with a statement, who didn't wait for the gatekeepers to open the door, but tore it off its hinges and walked through on their own terms. The world doesn't want you to stand out, because the moment you do, you become unpredictable. You become dangerous. And danger is what society fears most. A mind that can't be controlled, a spirit that refuses to bend. Stop looking for acceptance, for permission, for validation. Stop waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to be you. Society isn't built to recognize your brilliance. It's built to erase it, to make you fit neatly into the mold that's been crafted for you since birth. You're taught from day one to seek approval, to wait for the nod of recognition before you move forward. But that nod is a trap. It keeps you shackled to the expectations of others, a prisoner of their limited vision. Being yourself is an act of rebellion. It's staring into the eyes of a world that wants to erase you and saying, "I'm not asking for your permission." It's living without apology, without compromise, knowing that the price of individuality is alienation, and embracing that price with open arms. Because the alternative is slavery. It's a lifetime spent playing a role, pretending to be something you're not, bowing to the rules of a game you never wanted to play. You'll never be free if you're waiting for the world to give you the green light. The system is built to keep you contained, to make you doubt your own power, your own identity. The moment you step outside the lines, the world will try to pull you back in, to remind you of the price of stepping out of line. But here's the thing, the price of conformity is far greater than the price of rebellion. Because when you conform, you lose yourself. And there's no price higher than that. The truth is, the world needs you to be yourself, but it will never tell you that. Because the system thrives on predictability, on control, on keeping the masses numb and compliant. To be yourself is to break that control, to disrupt the flow, to inject chaos into a world that fears it. So don't look to society for permission. It's not coming. You have to take it. You have to declare yourself free, not because the world allows it, but because you demand it. Be the storm that no one saw coming. Be the fire that refuses to burn out. And never, ever wait for society to understand you. It doesn't need to. Because in the end, the only permission that matters is the one you give to yourself. And once you do that, the world will either fall in line or it will crumble beneath your feet. Either way, you'll have won. The deeper you sink into boredom, the more you shed the layers of false identities and expectations. At first, it's agony, isn't it? The unease, the creeping sense of discomfort, like you're peeling away skin that's been grafted onto you by the world. That initial hesitation, that's the sound of the cage rattling. It's the resistance of the old you, the version of yourself that has been carefully constructed, not by your own hand, but by society, by the weight of expectation, by the voices that told you who to be and how to act. But if you persist, if you dare to stay in that discomfort, something begins to shift. You break through the surface of the lie, and what emerges is the shadow of something real. You start to hear a voice you hadn't recognized before, quiet at first, like a whisper carried on the wind. That voice, it's your truest self, buried deep beneath the noise, beneath the distractions that have kept you numb, obedient. The more you